Where over the world, say where, you'll find an island there, so lovely small, with nations free, with people French and Dutch, though talking English much, as this in Martin in the sea. Oh, sweet St. Martin's land, so bright by beach and strand, with sailors on the sea and harbors free, where the chains of mountain green variously in sunlight sheen. Oh, I love this paradise, nature's beauty fairly nice. Oh, I love this paradise, nature's beauty fairly nice. How pretty between all green, flamboyant beaming gleam, of flowers red like sunlight set, the cows and sheep and goats in meadows or on roads, thy donkey's keen, can't I forget? Oh, sweet St. Martin's land, so bright by beach and strand, with sailors on the sea and harbors free, where the chains of mountain green variously in sunlight sheen. Oh, I love this paradise, nature's beauty fairly nice. Oh, I love this paradise, nature's beauty fairly nice.
On this Constitution Day, and in truth, every day of our nation-building journey, is a day meant for contemplation. In that spirit, I want to begin with a folkloric story about Cuban revolutionary Che Guevara. It is said that when Guevara was betrayed by one of his comrades, a shepherd, and was captured in his hiding place, effectively ending his rebellion and his life, a soldier asked the traitor, "How can you betray a man who spent his whole life defending you and your rights?" And the shepherd replied calmly, "His fight against the enemy frightened my sheep." I found that final sentence to resonate deeply when I reflect, as a young minister in our country today, on the last 15 years. On the eve of October 10th, 2010, I was living in the Netherlands, speaking with other St. Martiners, some of them students, some are already starting their professional careers, some in The Hague, some in the United States, some in Rotterdam, about what the next day would mean for our island. That night took me back to my time at university, where my Jamaican professor would tell the Caribbean Students Association stories of the personal as well as the community sacrifices that were required of his parents, of him, and indeed of all Jamaicans when their country gained independence in 1962. And while this was not going to be quite the same scenario, it would require no less personal and community sacrifice of every St. Martiner, especially of our leaders. And so I wondered, sitting there with my friends and watching interviews explaining the referendum and the work that brought us to 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, October 9th, 2010, were we aware enough of that sacrifice? Did we truly understand that our choices from that day forward would have to be different? Earlier this year at CARIFESTA 15 in Barbados, Prime Minister Mia Mottley said, "Do not let yourselves be comforted into complacency." Those words echo powerfully today, because Constitution Day is not merely an anniversary, it is a mirror. It asks us to look closely at who we have become and who we are still striving to be. In recent years, while speaking with various members of our youth parliament, I have seen that sense of sacrifice and understanding reflected in many of them. Perhaps it is because so many of them are children of parents who were not born here, but were born to be here. They carry with them the stories of their parents, who came from independent nations and who knew firsthand the weight and the worth of self-determination. They understand that freedom and progress are not handed to us. They are earned, protected, and nurtured every single day. They remind us that the next generation already grasps what some of us may have forgotten, that self-determination, even within a kingdom, demands responsibility, discipline, and courage. We must remember that our Constitution is more than a document. It is a promise to govern with integrity, to educate with purpose, to protect our culture, to uplift our youth, and to strengthen our people through unity. It is not the work of one ministry, one government, or one generation. It is the continuous act of nation building that belongs to every citizen, every teacher, every artist, every athlete, and every child who dares to dream on this island. So on this Constitution Day, let us renew our commitment to the ideals that gave birth to Country St. Martin, not as an obligation, but as a conscious choice. Let us be brave enough, as Guevara was, to defend the principles that shape a just and equitable nation, even when doing so might frighten the sheep. And above all, let us not grow comfortable in complacency, but courageous in our conviction, steadfast in the belief that the St. Martin we envision is not a distant goal, but a daily practice. Happy Constitution Day, and may God bless our beloved St. Martin.
15 years ago, on October 10, 2010, the people of St. Martin took a defining step in our journey of self-determination. On that day, we did not just adopt a new constitutional status, we claimed our voice, our vision, and our right to shape our destiny as a proud country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Today, as we stand on this 15-year milestone, we pause not only to celebrate how far we have come, but also to reflect on the journey ahead, one that calls for courage, unity, and renewed purpose. We honor the visionaries and public servants, the teachers, the community leaders, and the ordinary citizens who believed that St. Martin could chart its own course. We honor our uniformed services who protect our sovereignty and uphold the rule of law. And we honor, of course, our elders who kept alive the values of respect, hard work, and resilience that continue to define our national character. Our journey has not been easy, from the devastation of hurricanes to the economic shocks of global crisis. We have faced every test imaginable. But through all, St. Martin has stood tall, undoubted, unbroken, and unyielding. Today, we are called to shape the next chapter of our nation's story, a chapter where autonomy means more than status. It means responsibility, transparency, and sustainable progress. It means ensuring that every child born on this island, no matter their background, has access to quality education, quality health care, and opportunities. It means strengthening our institutions so that they serve the people with fairness and integrity. And it means, of course, advancing our national energy transition, our climate resilience, and our digital transformation so that St. Martin can thrive in the 21st century. As a people of diverse origins, we are one nation, Caribbean by heritage, global by outlook. Our Constitution enshrines the principle of democracy, equality, and justice for all. But it is we, the people, we must give life to those principles through our actions, through good governance, civic pride, and social responsibility. Let us not be divided by politics or prejudice, but united by purpose and inclusiveness. Because only together we can build the St. Martin that we dream of. a St. Martin that stands as a model of resilience, innovation, and Caribbean excellence. To our youth, your voice matters. The decisions we make today must prepare the ground for the leaders you will become tomorrow. You are not the future. You are the present, shaping that future now. We need your creativity, your courage, and your conviction to keep this country moving forward. As we mark 15 years of country status, let this Constitution Day be more than a commemoration. Let it be a recommitment to honesty, serve leadership, to serve above self, and to building a St. Martin that reflects the greatness of our people. May we continue to honor our past, not with nostalgia, but with purpose. May we shape our future, not in isolation, but in unity. And may God continue to bless the land we love, our beloved St. Martin.
And as St. Martin marks another anniversary of 10-10-10, it is not nostalgia that should guide our reflections, but clarity. Clarity about where we stand as a people and how far we have truly come on the path of self-determination and development. 15 years on, the promise that constitutional change would bring about a new era of progress and empowerment remains, at best, incomplete. The reality is that the right to development, the right of our people to chart their own course, socially, economically, and politically, has yet to be realized. The truth is that St. Martin's story of modern governance did not begin in 2010, but decades earlier when our forebears made a deliberate choice. In the 1960s, as other Caribbean territories debated independence and autonomy, we chose to move forward economically rather than politically. It was a practical decision, perhaps even a prudent one at one time. Yet, it set in motion a development path that prized material growth over structural sovereignty and consumption over cohesion. Today, we have to live with the consequences of that choice. We have built a service economy without securing a servable state. We have expanded opportunity without always ensuring access. And we have encouraged enterprise, but not always equity. And as global challenges from climate to debt to migration press in, our space to act freely as a small island becomes narrower still. So as we mark this 10-10-10 anniversary, let us not speak of honoring the past in the usual sense. Let us instead reckon with it critically, honestly, and constructively. Our task now is not to commemorate just a date, but to claim and reclaim a direction. A true reset requires that we refocus national effort on what development should mean in human terms, that every resident of this island has the opportunity to live with dignity, to participate meaningfully in the decisions that affect their lives, and to benefit equitably from the resources and revenues of this country. But ideals alone are not enough. The question we must now confront is how do we finance this right to development, and at what scale can it truly take root? I believe this conversation must move from reflection to responsibility. The responsibility we proudly claimed in 2010. Our next phase as a country must be guided by this standard, that no reform, fiscal measure, or external arrangement is justifiable if it erodes our capacity to develop on our own terms. This anniversary, then, is not a commemoration, it is a call to reset our focus, to align our choices with our people's right to progress, and to insist that development in St. Martin must finally mean freedom with purpose. The right to development offers St. Martin a framework through which to elevate every policy, budget, partnership, not by how much they cost, but by how much they contribute to human well-being and national autonomy. The right to development is not a slogan. It is the unfinished business of 10-10-10, enshrined in the UN General Assembly number 41-128. It is the right of the people and the obligation of every leader. The right to development recognizes that development is not charity, but entitlement. It means that the financing and partnerships we pursue must be aligned with our right to shape our own priorities, not dictated by the conditions of others. For St. Martin, this requires at least 3 shifts in how we approach financing and scale. As a constituent country within the kingdom, St. Martin must affirm the right to development. It carries with it a shared duty of support, especially in moments of disaster, economic shock, or structural change. Development financing cannot be limited to loans and layers of control. It must also mean investment in resilience, in education, and in equity. That is as much a kingdom responsibility as it is a national one. And here lies the turning point. This is where we move beyond the rhetoric of decolonization to the reality of partnership. Yet, let us be clear, the responsibility to uplift the once colonized is not the colonizers' only. It is equally ours to claim, to act upon, and to honor. If the right of development is to mean anything for St. Martin, it must mean that size is not destiny, and that the smallest nations have the right to think, plan, and thrive on their own terms. Honorable Prime Minister, and if in all that you have heard today on this anniversary of 10-10-10 makes you wonder and think, but how could we ascertain this right to development? Prime Minister, I have concluded that an article in the Charter of the Dutch Kingdom that often is looked at with fear should be turned around and to look at the responsibility that those with whom we partner have to the right of development for the people of St. Martin. And that, Honorable Prime Minister, is the Article 43, no longer to be looked at as a whip that is used as the discretion of those who can use it, but rather your strength and your tool to demand the right of development for the people of St. Martin at our pace and at our scale. Thank you. Happy Constitution Day, and may God bless this nation of ours.
As we commemorate 15 years of country status, it is in high regard that we honor our past as we shape our future. In high regard, because as challenging as the road to country status was, those who were instrumental in getting us here were able to do so by putting division and distractions aside and remaining steadfast to the will of the people. Honoring our past is therefore remembering who is at the heart of all that we do and why we do it. That is, the people of St. Martin, for your well-being, your progress. While we have much to be proud of, we are far from perfect. There are many areas that call for growth and honesty. Honesty about the challenges of our limited resources and capacity, and growth in understanding that limiting our sovereignty in this regard does not diminish our autonomy. Autonomy here is defined as the freedom to make your own decisions, and sovereignty is defined as the sole and ultimate decision-making. The comprehension of this difference is a sign of maturity, which we should be exhibiting at 15 years. Honoring our past is doing as those who worked at attaining this status did by holding good governance as their guiding light and shifting the focus from politics and personalities to practical policies that serve the public. And until we get that right, shaping our future in the form of true progress for the people will be forever just wishful thinking. So to all of you, all of us, see this as a call to action to ensure that in the next 15 years, we have shaped a future-proof St. Martin for the well-being, benefit, and improved quality of life of all the people of St. Martin. This can be accomplished through you, the people, holding all government officials accountable for our task, and us, the government officials, remembering that our task as government officials is not to rule, but to serve. As we commemorate this 15th anniversary of Constitution Day, I would like to remind everyone that when it comes to building a nation, 15 years is not that long at all. Our experience with our parliamentary democracy can be categorized as in its infancy when we look at our brothers and sisters within the kingdom. The Netherlands has 177 years of experience ahead of us. Curaçao has, since the inception of the Netherlands Antilles in 1955, a head start of 70 years, and Aruba will be celebrating 40 years of their status aparte in 2026. So we should not be too hard on ourselves because of the progress or lack thereof that we have made thus far. But we should not use this as an alibi, nor make this our excuse either. For as one African proverb goes, not everyone who chased the zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it. May God continue to bless St. Martin and its people. Happy Constitution Day, St. Martin. I thank you.